2 years ago, I made the single worst decision of my life. My daughter Emily came to me one night crying, saying that her brother Ryan had hurt her feelings in a way that went beyond just sibling teasing. She told me a story so convincing, with tears running down her face, that I didn't hesitate. I confronted Ryan, who swore on everything he loved that he didn't do it. But in that moment, I believed Emily. I thought I was protecting her. I told Ryan to leave my house, and at only 19, he packed a small bag and walked out into the night. He begged me not to believe her lies, but I was blinded. I slammed the door shut behind him. For 2 years, Ryan didn't come home. My calls went unanswered, and the little messages I sent into the void were left unread or ignored completely. Emily seemed lighter without him around, almost smug sometimes, but I told myself I was imagining it. I clung to the belief that I had done the right thing, that I had chosen to protect my daughter. But deep down, guilt gnawed at me. I missed my son terribly, but I convinced myself that he had brought it on himself. Then, 2 weeks ago, everything collapsed. Emily was out late, and I went into her room to grab laundry. Her phone buzzed on the bed, and the screen lit up with a message from her friend. The words froze my blood. "I still can't believe your dad believed you. Poor Ryan, 2 years. And he still doesn't know you lied just to get the bigger room." My hands shook as I scrolled through the thread. The truth unraveled in front of me. Emily had fabricated everything, and her friend had known all along. The story I had trusted, the lie I had acted on, had been nothing more than a sibling's cruel game. I confronted Emily that night, and she confessed with barely a hint of remorse. "I was tired of him always being the favorite," she said. "You would have never listened if I told you directly. I just wanted him gone." Her words hit me like a hammer. The weight of what I had done crashed over me. I had abandoned my own son, shattered our bond, and all because I had chosen blind trust in one child over love and fairness for both. The next morning, I drove 3 hours to the city where Ryan had last been living. I tracked him down through one of his old friends. When he finally agreed to see me, the look in his eyes nearly broke me. He wasn't the same boy I had thrown out. He was colder, guarded, with scars I couldn't see but could feel in his silence. I begged him to hear me out, told him the truth about Emily's lie, told him how sorry I was. He listened quietly, then asked me one question. "Why didn't you believe me when I needed you most?" I had no answer. Now I'm trying to rebuild something I destroyed. I call him every day, text him, remind him that I'm here and that I'll never choose anyone's word over his again. I don't know if he'll ever forgive me, but I will spend the rest of my life proving that I'm worthy of being his father again. And Emily? She's grounded, in therapy, and facing consequences for what she did. But the truth is, no punishment for her will ever outweigh the punishment I gave myself, losing my son for 2 years because of one devastating lie. When I drove back home after meeting Ryan, I sat in the car for over an hour before even walking inside. My hands were gripping the steering wheel so tight they hurt, but it was the only way I could stop them from shaking. My mind kept replaying his words. "Why didn't you believe me when I needed you most?" No answer I could ever give would undo the damage. When I finally stepped inside, Emily was sitting on the couch watching TV, her legs curled up like nothing had happened. The sight of her so relaxed while my heart was in pieces made my blood boil. I told her what Ryan had said, hoping maybe she would show an ounce of regret. Instead, she just shrugged. "You're overreacting, Dad. He'll get over it. It's not like you ruined his life." I lost it then. I raised my voice, not in rage, but in sheer heartbreak. "Do you have any idea what you've done? You cost your brother his home, his family, his peace of mind. I threw him out into the world with nothing because I trusted you. And you think this is something he can just get over?" She looked startled for a moment, but then rolled her eyes. That was the moment I realized my daughter wasn't just lying. She had grown into someone who didn't understand the weight of what her lies had done. I couldn't just ground her for a week and hope it would fix things. I needed to hold her accountable in a way she'd never forget. That night, I called a therapist who specialized in family counseling. I didn't ask her opinion this time. I scheduled the appointment myself and told her she was going, no excuses. If she refused, her privileges, phone, car, everything would be gone. She glared at me like I was the villain, but I didn't care. I wasn't about to let this go. But even as I made plans for Emily, my heart was still with Ryan. I lay awake that night staring at the ceiling, wondering how many nights he had cried himself to sleep because of me. I wondered if he'd ever had to choose between food and rent, or if he'd ever felt abandoned in ways I could never repair. The guilt was unbearable, but underneath it was something even worse, fear. Fear that no matter what I did, Ryan would never let me back into his life. A week later, Ryan finally answered one of my calls. His voice was flat, cautious, like every word was measured. I asked if we could meet again, somewhere of his choice. He hesitated before agreeing to a small diner on the edge of town. When I walked in, he was already there, sitting in a booth with a cup of black coffee in front of him. He didn't look up right away, but when he did, I could see how much older he seemed. Not just older worn. Life had aged him in ways it shouldn't have at 21. We sat in silence for a long minute before I forced myself to speak. Ryan, I need to know what these 2 years were like for you. I need to hear it from you, even if it destroys me. He stared at me with those guarded eyes, then leaned back in the booth. You want the truth? Fine. The night you threw me out, I didn't even have enough cash for a motel. I slept in my car for weeks, showered at the gym when I could. I worked every dead-end job that would take me. Dishwashing, night shifts at gas stations, hauling trash. Every time I thought about calling you, I remembered the way you looked at me when you chose her side. That broke me more than the cold nights did. It was a never cup. His words were knives, but I forced myself to take them. Tears burned at my eyes, but I didn't dare interrupt him. I scraped enough together to rent a tiny studio, he continued. I kept telling myself I didn't need you. But the truth is, Dad, I did. I needed my father. And when you weren't there, I learned the hard way that trust is a luxury I can't afford anymore. I reached across the table, my hand shaking, but he didn't take it. He just looked at me like a stranger. I want to fix this, Ryan. I don't care how long it takes. I want you back in my life. For the first time, his mask cracked, just a little. His voice softened, though it carried the weight of years of pain. You can't just want it, Dad. You have to earn it. I nodded slowly, my throat tight. Tell me what I have to do. Anything. Ryan took a sip of his coffee, still not meeting my eyes. You can't fix 2 years of silence with a few apologies. If you want me in your life again, you need to prove it consistently. No excuses. No disappearing when it gets uncomfortable. I swallowed hard. What does that mean exactly? He finally looked at me then, and for a moment, I saw the boy he used to be beneath the hardened exterior. It means showing up. If I invite you, you come. If I need help, you listen before you assume. No more taking Emily's word without hearing mine. And therapy. Family therapy. Not just for her. For us too. His words hit me like a commandment. And I knew he was right. I had always been quick to act, quick to judge, and too slow to listen. That flaw had cost me my son. I'll do it, I said, without hesitation. All of it. Ryan studied me, as if weighing whether he could believe me. I'll give you one chance. Don't waste it. The rest of that meal was quiet. We didn't suddenly slip back into laughter or comfort like before. But it was something a fragile thread stretched between us, and I was determined not to snap it this time. When I got home, I told Emily about the therapy plan. She groaned, rolled her eyes, and accused me of picking Ryan over her now. I looked her straight in the eye and said, "This isn't about favorites. It's about repairing the damage you caused, and the damage I caused by letting it happen." For the first time, she didn't have a quick comeback. She just sat there, stunned. That night, I felt the faintest glimmer of hope, but hope was fragile, and I knew I'd have to fight every day to keep it alive. The first therapy session was tense from the moment we walked in. Ryan sat on one end of the couch, arms crossed, eyes fixed on the floor. Emily slouched on the other side, glaring at me like I had betrayed her. I sat between them, feeling like I was holding 2 live wires that could spark at any second. The therapist, a calm woman named Dr. Patel, greeted us and asked us to start with why we were there. Ryan didn't speak. Emily huffed and muttered, "Because Dad's making me." I clenched my jaw, ashamed that I'd raised one child who carried pain like a scar and another who treated it all like a game. Dr. Patel gently pressed Ryan to speak. At first, he refused, but then his voice cracked the silence. I lost everything because of her lie. And because Dad believed it. I wasn't just thrown out, I was discarded. His words hung heavy in the room. Emily rolled her eyes. "You're being dramatic. You're fine now." Ryan's head snapped toward her, his voice sharp. "Fine? I lived in my car. I begged strangers for work. I spent 2 years wondering why my own father thought I was a monster. And you sit there, acting like it was nothing." Emily shifted uncomfortably, but still tried to defend herself. "I just wanted you gone. You always got the attention. I was sick of it." Dr. Patel intervened before Ryan exploded. "Emily, do you realize the magnitude of what your choice did? Do you understand that your brother's suffering wasn't just a moment? It was years of his life altered." For the first time, Emily's face faltered. Her bravado cracked, and her eyes filled with tears she fought to hide. She didn't answer. I sat there, heart breaking all over again, because this was the mess I had allowed. I looked at Ryan and said, "You're right. I failed you. I chose to believe without listening, and I'll carry that shame forever." Ryan didn't respond, but he didn't leave either. And maybe, just maybe, that meant there was still a chance. The second therapy session felt heavier than the first. Ryan walked in stiff, his jaw tight, while Emily dragged her feet, clearly wishing she could be anywhere else. I sat there caught between them, the weight of my mistakes pressing harder with every passing second. Dr. Patel asked Ryan to continue where he left off. He didn't hesitate this time. His voice was low but steady. "You ruined me, Emily. I can't explain what it feels like to look your father in the eyes and realize he thinks you're lying, that he believes you're capable of something you didn't do. That night broke something in me. You took my family, my home, and my trust, and you didn't even care." Emily's chin trembled, though she tried to keep her composure. "I didn't think it would go that far," she whispered. I just wanted to feel like I mattered for once." Ryan shook his head, anger flashing in his eyes. "You wanted attention, so you destroyed me. Do you even hear yourself? 2 years of my life gone. Do you know what sleeping in a freezing car does to you? Do you know what it's like to wonder if anyone cares if you're alive? All because you wanted the bigger room." Emily finally broke. Tears spilled down her face as she buried her hands in her lap. "I didn't mean to ruin you. I was jealous. I hated how Dad always looked at you like you could do no wrong. I thought if you were out of the picture, maybe he'd finally see me." Her confession gutted me. I had been blind, too blind, to realize my daughter had been crying out for attention in the ugliest way possible. And yet, it didn't excuse the destruction she'd caused. I looked at both of them, my voice shaking. "This is my fault too. I failed you both. I made one of you feel invisible, and the other, disposable. I can't take back what I did, but I swear I'll never make that mistake again." Ryan sat in silence, staring at the floor, while Emily cried quietly beside him. For the first time, the room wasn't filled with denial or excuses. It was filled with raw truth. When part 7 began, the air in the therapy room felt different. Ryan wasn't as defensive as before. He still looked guarded, but there was a flicker of something new, reluctant openness. Dr. Patel asked him what had kept him going during those 2 years. He hesitated, then finally spoke. "There was someone," he said quietly. "Someone who didn't give up on me when I had nothing." I leaned forward, my heart in my throat. "Who?" Ryan's eyes flicked to me, then back down. "Grandma." The word hit me like a blow. My mother, his grandmother, had been the one to keep him afloat while I had cast him out. He went on, voice steady but filled with emotion. "She found me when I was at my lowest. She gave me meals, slipped me money when she could, even let me crash at her place when it got too cold. She told me she knew I was innocent, even when you didn't. Shame washed over me like a tidal wave. My own mother had believed him when I hadn't. She had done what I should have done. Stand by him." Emily's head snapped up, eyes wide. "Grandma knew?" she asked softly, almost as if she couldn't believe it. Ryan nodded. "She knew. She said lies have a way of rotting the soul, and she warned me the truth would eventually come out. She was the only reason I didn't give up completely." Tears stung my eyes. "Why didn't she tell me?" I asked, my voice breaking. Ryan finally looked at me. "Because she said it wasn't her job to fix what you broke. She wanted you to see it for yourself." I sat there, unable to speak, the weight of my failure pressing harder than ever. My son had survived because my mother stepped in where I had failed, and Emily sat silent beside me, realizing her lie had spread consequences far beyond what she'd imagined. For the first time, Ryan's pain wasn't just a story. It was alive in the room, and I knew I had to face the truth of how deep my betrayal had cut. A few days later, I drove to my mother's house. My hands were sweating on the steering wheel the whole ride, because I knew this conversation was coming, and I dreaded it. She opened the door before I even knocked, as if she had been expecting me. "Come in," she said curtly, turning away without a hug. That alone told me everything about where I stood with her. We sat at the kitchen table, the same one I had eaten at as a child. For a long moment, she just stared at me, her expression unreadable. Finally, she spoke. "You want to know why I didn't tell you Ryan was innocent?" I nodded, my throat dry. "Because it wasn't my place to save you from your own blindness," she said sharply. "A parent's job is to protect their children, to listen even when it's hard. And you," her voice cracked but her eyes stayed firm, "you threw your son away without even giving him the chance to be heard." I had to pick up the pieces while you sat here believing a child's cruel game." Her words cut deeper than anything Ryan had said. I bowed my head, ashamed. I thought I was protecting Emily. I thought. My voice trailed off. "You thought wrong," she snapped. "And Ryan paid the price. Do you have any idea how many nights I sat with him while he cried himself to sleep? Do you know what it's like to watch your grandson break in front of you, while his own father couldn't be bothered to believe in him?" Tears blurred my vision. I failed him. I failed you too. She softened slightly then, though her voice was still firm. Owning it is a start, but words aren't enough. Ryan doesn't need your guilt. He needs your consistency. Show him you're here. Show him you'll never make the same mistake again. That's the only way you'll earn him back. I nodded, unable to speak. For the first time in years, I felt like the child again, being scolded by my mother, but this time, I deserved every word. When Emily and I showed up at Grandma's house for dinner that weekend, the tension was thick enough to choke on. Emily had her arms crossed, her usual mask of teenage defiance glued to her face, but I could see the nervous flicker in her eyes. She knew Grandma wasn't like me. She couldn't twist her words or brush things off here. Grandma welcomed us in, but her eyes lingered on Emily with a sharpness that made my daughter shift uncomfortably. We sat at the table, the smell of roasted chicken filling the air, but the silence was suffocating. Finally, Grandma set her fork down and looked directly at Emily. "You know," she began, her voice calm but stern, "Ryan told me everything. And I told him, the truth always comes out. It always does. But what I didn't tell him is that when it does, the liar has to face the wreckage they caused." Emily swallowed hard, her bravado cracking just a little. I didn't mean for it to get so bad." Grandma's eyes narrowed. "Child, that excuse might work on your father, but it doesn't work on me. You didn't just make a mistake. You destroyed your brother's life. And you sat there for 2 years while he suffered, never once confessing." Tears welled in Emily's eyes. But Grandma didn't let up. "You wanted attention? Well, you got it. But what you earned was shame. You have a lot of work to do to make this right. And don't you dare think a simple sorry is enough." Lessons. Emily broke then, tears spilling down her cheeks. "I know I was wrong. I just wanted to feel like I mattered. I didn't think anyone cared about me." Grandma leaned closer, her voice softening but staying firm. "You mattered, Emily. You always did. But you chose to matter by tearing someone else down. That's not how love works. That's not how family works. If you want to fix this, you'll have to show your brother, not just say it." Emily nodded weakly, her walls finally crumbling. For the first time, I saw true remorse in her eyes. Not just fear of consequences, but genuine regret. I sat there silently, watching my mother do what I should have done years ago, hold my daughter accountable in a way she could finally understand. Ryan agreed to see Emily, but only because Dr. Patel suggested it might be the next step toward healing. He made it clear from the start he wasn't meeting her, for her sake. "I'm doing this so I can move on," he told me over the phone. "Don't expect a miracle." We met at the therapist's office, neutral ground. Ryan walked in with that same guarded look, his hands shoved deep into his jacket pockets. Emily sat stiff in her chair, her eyes red from crying earlier, but I could tell she was bracing herself. The silence stretched until Ryan finally broke it. "So, what do you have to say to me?" His tone wasn't angry, it was cold, detached. That somehow hurt more. Emily's voice trembled. "I'm sorry. I lied, because I wanted Dad's attention, because I felt invisible next to you. But I never thought it would ruin your life the way it did. I was selfish. I was cruel. And I hate myself for it." Ryan let out a bitter laugh. "You hate yourself?" "Emily, I hated myself every single night I slept in that car, wondering why my sister wanted me gone so badly that she'd make up something that vile. You knew Dad would believe you, and you used that against me. Do you realize what kind of person that makes you?" Emily sobbed, covering her face with her hands. I know what I did was evil. I'll spend the rest of my life trying to make it up to you, if you let me. Please, Ryan. Please don't hate me forever." For a moment, I thought Ryan would get up and walk out, his fists clenched, his jaw tight. But instead, he leaned forward, his voice sharp as glass. "I don't hate you, Emily. Hate would mean I still cared enough to feel something for you. Right now, you're just nothing to me. You want that to change? Then prove it. Earn back what you destroyed. But don't expect forgiveness overnight. If it ever comes, it'll be on my terms." Emily nodded through her tears, broken but listening. I sat there, silent, because Ryan's words cut me too. Forgiveness wasn't something either of us could demand, it was something we had to earn, one day at a time. Ryan was quieter than usual when we sat down for the next session. He didn't look at me or Emily. His eyes were fixed on the floor, his hands gripping the armrests like he was bracing himself. Dr. Patel gave him space, gently asking, "Ryan, can you share what the hardest moment was for you during those 2 years?" The room went still. Finally, his voice broke the silence, low and trembling. "There was one night. I almost didn't make it." "Is it Bring?" My chest tightened. Emily froze beside me. Ryan took a shaky breath. It was winter. I had been sleeping in my car, but the heater broke. I hadn't eaten a real meal in days. I sat there in that freezing parking lot thinking maybe it would be easier to just let go, to stop fighting. I thought about how no one would notice if I was gone. Not Dad, not Emily. I really believed I was worthless. Tears blurred my vision, but I didn't dare interrupt. Then my phone buzzed. He continued. "It was Grandma. Just one text. 'I made too much soup. Come eat with me.' That one message pulled me out of the spiral. I drove to her place, and she held me like I was still a kid. She didn't ask questions. She just reminded me that someone cared. I don't think she knows it, but that night, she saved my life." Emily broke into sobs, burying her face in her hands. I sat frozen, gutted by the truth. My son had been on the edge of giving up while I had been sleeping comfortably in my warm bed, still believing the lie. Dr. Patel spoke softly. "Ryan, thank you for sharing that. It's important for your family to understand the depth of what you endured." Ryan finally looked up, his eyes red but steady. "That's why I can't just get over it. You both need to understand that it wasn't just 2 years lost. It was 2 years where I nearly lost myself completely." His words carved deep into me, deeper than anything else had. I realized in that moment that rebuilding with Ryan wasn't about forgiveness alone. It was about saving what was left of him and proving I was still worthy of being called his father. A week later, Emily asked me if she could see Ryan alone. Her voice was timid, nothing like the defiant tone she usually carried. I need to tell him things without you there, Dad. He deserves to hear it from me." I hesitated, worried Ryan would shut her down completely. But I knew she had to try. So I called him, and to my surprise, he agreed on one condition. "I'll meet her, but it won't be easy. She needs to hear the truth straight from me." They met at a small coffee shop. I sat in my car nearby, heart pounding, resisting the urge to go inside. Through the window, I could see them, Emily fidgeting with her cup, Ryan sitting rigid, his arms crossed. Emily started first. Her voice was shaky. "Ryan, I know I don't deserve it, but I want you to forgive me one day. I ruined your life. I lied because I was jealous and selfish, but I swear I'll never hurt you like that again. You were my brother, and I miss you." Ryan didn't answer right away. He just stared at her, his silence making her squirm. Finally, he leaned forward. His voice was calm, but every word hit like a hammer. "Do you know what the worst part of your lie was? It wasn't sleeping in my car. It wasn't being broke. It wasn't even Dad throwing me out. The worst part was realizing my own sister wanted me gone so badly she'd destroy me to get her way. That's a wound deeper than anything else." Emily's tears spilled over. I know I don't deserve your love, but I'm begging you, please give me a chance to earn back even a fraction of your trust." Ryan sighed, leaning back. "I'll give you one thing, Emily. You showed up today. That's more than I expected. But if you think one tearful apology is going to fix this, you're wrong. You don't get to demand forgiveness. You have to live it. Every day. For years. If that's what it takes. And maybe, I'll believe you then." Emily nodded, wiping her face. "Then that's what I'll do. I'll prove it to you." For the first time, Ryan's expression softened, not forgiveness, not even acceptance, but the faintest acknowledgement that maybe, just maybe, change was possible. When Ryan called me a few days later, my heart nearly stopped. His voice was steady, but there was a trace of hesitation. "Dad, if you really want to understand what I've been through, come see where I live." I agreed immediately. The drive felt endless, my chest tightening with every mile. When I arrived, Ryan was waiting outside a worn-down apartment building. The paint was chipped, the stairs creaked, and the hallway smelled faintly of mildew. He led me up to the 3rd floor and unlocked a small studio apartment. The place was modest, almost bare, just a mattress on the floor, a second-hand table, and a couple of chairs. A few books stacked by the window. No decorations, no warmth. It screamed survival, not living. "This is it," he said simply, his eyes watching me carefully. "This is what I built when I had nothing. It's not much, but it's mine. Every bill, every meal, every sleepless night, I earned it without you. I swallowed hard, guilt clawing at my throat. Ryan, He cut me off. Don't. I didn't bring you here for pity. I brought you here so you could see what your choice cost me. While Emily slept in her cozy room, while you sat in your warm house. This was my world. Cold nights, cheap food, constant fear that I wouldn't make rent. I looked around, trying to fight back tears. You shouldn't have had to go through this alone. I should have been here. I should have. Ryan's voice cracked, but he stayed firm. You weren't. That's the point. You chose to believe her over me. And this, he gestured to the small, worn-down space, is the life I had to scrape together because of it. I stood there, crushed under the weight of his truth. He didn't need to yell. Every word was a reminder of the gap between us, of how far I had fallen in his eyes. But then he surprised me. You want to earn me back? Start here. Don't just tell me you're sorry, be present. Help me build something better than this. Show me I still have a father. And for the first time, I felt a spark of hope that maybe, just maybe, he was letting me back in. When Emily asked if she could see Ryan's place too, I wasn't sure he'd agree. But to my surprise, he said yes, though his tone was firm. Fine, but she needs to see the truth, not hide from it. We drove together, Emily unusually quiet the whole way. When we stepped inside Ryan's tiny studio, her eyes immediately widened. She looked around at the bare mattress, the chipped table, the faded curtains. The silence was thick until Ryan finally said, "This is where I lived while you had everything you wanted." Emily's face crumpled. Ryan, I didn't know it was like this. Ryan's laugh was sharp, bitter. Of course you didn't. You didn't care enough to ask. While you were cozy in your room, I was counting pennies for instant noodles. While you complained about Wi-Fi, I was wondering if I'd have heat for the night. This is what your lie did. Emily broke into tears, her shoulders shaking. I thought Dad would punish you for a little while, not throw you out completely. I didn't think it through. I swear I never imagined this. Ryan's eyes were cold, but his voice softened, just a fraction. That's the problem, Emily. You never thought. You wanted attention, so you burned down my life. And the worst part? You let it go on for 2 years without saying a word. Emily dropped to her knees in the middle of the tiny apartment, sobbing. I ruined you. I ruined us. I don't deserve to be your sister. Ryan stood there silently, his expression unreadable. Then, slowly, he knelt too. No, Emily, you don't get to erase being my sister. That's forever. But right now, you're just a stranger who shares my blood. If you want to be more than that, you'll have to prove it. Emily nodded through her tears. I will. I'll prove it every day. For the first time, Ryan didn't turn away. He didn't forgive her, but he didn't push her out either. And in that small, broken apartment, I felt the faintest beginning of something that might one day grow back into family. The final session with Dr. Patel felt like the weight of the last 2 years pressing into one room. Ryan sat on one side, arms still crossed but not as tightly as before. Emily sat beside me, her hands clenched together, eyes swollen from crying. I felt like a man standing between 2 broken bridges, hoping they might one day connect again. Dr. Patel asked Ryan what he wanted moving forward. He took a long breath before answering. I don't know if I'll ever fully forgive what happened. Some wounds don't just disappear, but I don't want to carry this hate forever. I want my life back. And maybe I want my family back too, but only if things change for real. He turned to Emily. I'm not ready to call you my sister again. Not yet, but I'll give you the chance to earn it. Don't waste it. Emily wiped her tears and nodded. I'll spend the rest of my life proving I'm worthy of it. I'll never lie to you again. Ever. Then Ryan looked at me. His eyes softened, but they still held fire. And you, Dad, you don't get a free pass either. You abandoned me. You believed the worst of me when I needed you most. If you want to be my father again, it's not about words. It's about showing up every day, even when it's hard. I nodded, tears running down my face. I'll never stop showing up, Ryan. I don't care how long it takes. I'll prove to you that I'm still your dad, and I'll never turn my back on you again. For the first time in years, Ryan's lips curved into the faintest hint of a smile. It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet. But it was something, a fragile seed of hope. When we left that day, Emily slipped her arm through mine, silent, but resolute. Ryan walked a few steps ahead, but for the first time, he didn't look like he was walking away from us. He looked like he might just be walking with us again, slowly, cautiously, but forward. The road to healing would be long. Trust would take years to rebuild. But as we stepped out of that office together, I knew one thing. My family wasn't whole yet, but it wasn't shattered beyond repair either. And that was enough to keep me fighting for them, for both of them, one day at a time.